Today's guest on the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast is going to be Chi Zhang out of Individual and Community Preparedness Headquarters, FEMA. And she's going to talk to us about something I call Festivus for the rest of us. It's organizations preparing for emergency needs. And it's the training that goes towards folks that run animal shelters, soup kitchens, private businesses, nonprofits, anything across the board. You know, we deal mostly with folks that deal with community emergency response training or youth preparedness or higher ed. This is going to cast the wider net, the taller umbrella, and we're going to have something for the rest of us. Stay tuned, and here is Chi Zhang. Welcome to the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast. I'm your host, Bill Bischoff, FEMA Region 6 Community Preparedness Officer, and we'll be talking about community preparedness issues that affect Region 6 states of Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and the tribal nations therein. We hope you enjoy the show. Welcome, Chi Zhang, to the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast. You have been a near and dear partner of ours at Individual Community Preparedness at headquarters there in Washington, D.C. And we in FEMA Region 6 have enjoyed working with you the last couple of years, but now it's time to put on blast what we've been working on, and particularly what you're steady on all the time, and that is open. So tell me, if you will, what open is and what we're doing with it.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. You know, we've been talking about open, or organizations preparing for emergency needs training, for a little while. We've done a website update. We've done curriculum updates. So what is it? It's a very, very beginner level preparedness training for local small businesses and community-based organizations. So we're talking faith-based organizations, soup kitchens, pet shelters, everything that supports the community, right? You and I both know that that's the face of the community. Folks in communities turn to these organizations for help, for information, for guidance as a steady, basically a steady pillar of support. Right? So why do we prepare them? Because after a disaster, those community-based organizations are what the local community turn to, right? So if they can't open their doors, or if after a disaster, like a major hurricane, or, you know, this past 3 years, right, COVID, if you can't open your doors, then your doors are closed to the individuals. So that's what open is. And again, it's super, super beginner level. One might consider it a level 0.5 continuity of operations strategy, right?
When I looked at it originally, I was like, man, this is kind of like anything you needed to know, you can find it. It's like walking into the library for somebody that just needs all the resources there, but not sure where to start. So it's really pretty sharp. So tell me what it looks like when you get into it.
Sure. So it is a free training program online. It is our own community website that we developed through the Individual and Community Preparedness Division, right? So when you go in, you can get little blurbs about what this preparedness program is, which is basically training you on the 10 preparedness actions. Preparedness is hard, right? Thinking about preparing is like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Do I make a go bag? Well, for a community-based organization or a small business, they have a lot to think about. And if you're new, if you just created a small business, how would you even know where to get started, right? So that's why we kind of broke it down into 10 very simple steps. You start at the beginning with just understanding your environment. Like, what kind of risks would you potentially face in the next month or year or 5 years, right? Thinking about some of those things, writing it down, because a lot of times maybe you subconsciously know about them, But when you're asked about it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't really think about it. So this really helps you put something on paper and really plan for it. So knowing your risks, thinking about different ways you can mitigate. Will all of those ways work? Maybe. Will you need all of those ways? Maybe not.
Yeah,
Right.
let's hope
But
not.
writing them down so that you'll have a place to go. And then it goes through some business, what we call business essentials, right? Which is considering your supply chain. Boy, did we really have to think about that, especially after this whole the pandemic environment, right?
Yeah,
And even
yeah.
now, considering your supply chain, knowing cross-cutting functions, right? If you have one person in your organization who does all of the accounting, all of the books for whenever a shipment of supplies come in, and that person, hopefully that doesn't happen, but that person,
Yeah, yeah,
hopefully this happens for them. That person wins the lottery
yeah,
and they
yeah,
disappear off the face of the planet, right?
yeah.
Do you have other folks in your shop who can pick up, right, where that person left off? Do you know where all of your critical information is? So that's kind of the section of the training called business essentials. And then once you have all of that in place, developing a communications plan, implementing your plan, and regularly testing and training your staff on that plan, right? That's all part of being preparedness. Will a hurricane happen tomorrow? Not likely. Would you face some sort of disaster in the future? The chances are pretty good, right? So having these plans on paper, having a library, like you said, of information, knowing where to look is super important.
If I'm not mistaken, when I looked at it a while back, now it may have changed a bit since I looked at it. It seems like it had elements of continuity of operations planning. It seemed like it had a little bit about, my bread and butter, CERT, and then back onto the individual preparedness. It seemed like it just had, how to make your kit, how to make your plan, how to financial preparedness. It seemed like it took a little bit of everything. It's almost like making depending upon where we're going to go. I'm looking at my volunteer Louisiana, our last folks we did a podcast with. We'll just talk about gumbo. They put everything in that gumbo. It seemed a little bit similar to that. There's just everything you need is going to be there if you are, just in that general place that you need. You're trying to do something else. You're trying to make a buck. You're trying to serve somebody. You're trying to take care of somebody's kids. Whatever that is, it's there for you.
Yeah, this training program, I would say that we simplified preparing, right? So my favorite example is pet shelters, because you know how much I love animals, right? You're a new pet shelter that just got established because during the puppy pandemic, everyone got puppies, and now everyone is allowed out in the world again. And unfortunately, a lot of puppies need homes, right? So we established a new pet shelter. Well, this kind of gets you started. You may not be well-versed in emergency planning or in preparedness, right? But this is where you can get started. You look at some of our resources. There's a checklist, right? For you to go down your list. Oh, do I have this? Yes? Great. Moving on. Oh, I don't have something. Oh, let me learn a little bit more about it. Let me dig a little bit further. So we're linking folks not just through the training, but we're also linking folks to other resources that fall under each preparedness action. So what the training looks like is you can take the course online. It's free. It's a web-based course. You take it, you download the checklist, and then you get preparing. Or if you, for example, you manage the human resources for your community-based organization. You got, 50 people on your staff, right? You can take the course. You can download the instructor-led materials, which is essentially a teacher's guide, right? And then you can teach that course to your staff. Or you can use this as a way to reach out to your community and say, I'm a pet shelter. You're a pet shelter. Have you heard this? No. Hey, I can teach it to you because I already took it. And all the information's already there. And that way, when a disaster hits, maybe we can help each other out. Right. So the way that we designed it, the best way to learn something, right, is see one, do one, teach one. And that's kind of the model of how we designed it. Is you can see it in action, right, online. You can download the resources to actually do some of the preparing. And then you can use the materials to teach it to others. To that also strengthens your network, right? That's the whole point to this, is that we're creating a resource that folks can use however they choose to use it. Do you want to, if you're a really large organization, one of our other partners, there are large organizations, they serve hundreds of smaller subsidiaries, right? So they took open training and they created their own toolkit based on the 10 preparedness actions in open training, have open as their prerequisite. And then, oh, you took this course, now you have all these other resources, right? So you can do that, right? At a large scale. Smaller scale, honestly, just taking the course yourself and then using the checklist to double check your organization or small business.
Where can we find all this? And I'm saying that rhetorically because I've been there before, but if you don't mind.
Sure. It is ready.www.ready.gov/open-training. So it's OPEN, open-training. And it will link you to our open website, which I personally love because I just updated it this year or last year. So the training page itself, it's very well organized. You'll see all the information in a tabular format. So one tab gives you kind of the overview, one tab gives you the online version, one tab gives you the resources, and then the last tab gives you the instructor-led materials.
How long does it take to do the training itself online?
Sure. The web-based version takes 45 minutes.
So it's not a huge time investment. And
it's not a huge time.
And then it's what you want it to be from there, it sounds like.
Exactly. You're investing your time. You're taking the course for 45 minutes, but maybe researching, looking at some of our resources and digging into them and then clicking on some of the links and doing some research, that is another investment of your time. But you're investing in your future, essentially, right? We're not making any money off this.
Right. Well, speaking of the investment, our investors, our partners here in Region 6, at least for this podcast, tend to be our state program managers, our county folks that are involved in community preparedness, and our CERT, community emergency response training partners, our youth preparedness partners, and now our higher ed partners have taken a big part in the way we do things. So not all of them are going to, be in that place where it means that much to them, but it always means something to that next person. So I guess the ask would be for us, if you're already doing CERT or you're already doing youth preparedness or you're already working in the higher, whatever you're already doing, if you could move this through your network to those that do not have access to what you're doing or what can be done, that I think is the ask, because it needs to get further out there, and it really needs to get to the people that can use it. Have you had any end user testimonials yet? Has it had time to be out there long enough that folks are going, hey, oh yeah, this works, or I wish I'd have had this long ago, or what are they saying if you've had time to hear from anybody?
We have. I mean, we do have a feedback survey for the course itself. It's available online, and 80% of our participants say, this is a fantastic course. We've been using it. I didn't think about this before. I'm using it now. Is it useful for everyone? For example, a state emergency office? No, it is not useful for a state emergency office because you are already working in emergency management. This is, like I said, level 0.5, right? So this is not right for you. Is it ready? Is it useful for the American Red Cross? It could be a community-based organization. Probably not. They work in emergency preparedness already, right?
It's the soup kitchen. It's the soup kitchen.
It is the soup kitchen, and we've had really good results. We have really good reviews. And I think I mentioned one of our partners actually took our course and built their entire toolkit for childcare organizations, for hundreds of childcare organizations across the country. They built it off of Open.
Beautiful.
Right. They built checklists and additional resources specific to their organization. This course, it's not specific to any one industry, right? It's not specific to childcare, not specific to senior care, to pet shelters, to soup kitchens. Right. We just don't have that kind of bandwidth, right? If I had a team of 16 people, oh yeah, we would have Open for seniors. We would have Open for childcare,
every direction,
Open for schools. That's the dream, right? If we see that this is getting out there and we're getting a lot of feedback saying, hey, we want more, right? And that's why I'm talking to you, Bill, is you getting the information out there, and then I get the feedback from your partner saying, this is great, we've used it, we want more. Then I can bring that up to my leadership and maybe ask for more, right? And we can develop additional organization specific, maybe not the entire training, but organization specific worksheets or checklists or resources.
Right. All right, what have we not hit that we need to hit before we go?
The important thing is feedback. If you've taken the training, yes, if you've taken the training, please fill out our survey, and then you'll be able to download a completion certificate, right? Like I said, this is not a FEMA accredited course, but with the information, you can then go on and learn more details, courses about preparedness or small business continuity through FEMA's training programs, other training programs. I'm previewing this probably a little early, but we are updating the course. We're going to provide more training information. We're going to provide more support to instructors. We're updating our web-based course. All of that is in the works right now. I don't have an exact when it will be launched, but it's something that we're working on as we speak.
Great. Tell me one more time an email where if somebody watches this and still wants more information, they should go to.
So to email to contact us, it's FEMA-prepare@fema.dhs.gov. And the website itself is www.ready.gov/open-training.
There we go. Well, thank you, Chief. This has been a pleasure. I've enjoyed working with you on this, and I think that this might be an avenue we're going to be able to get that further out there, that message, because you're doing great work there. It only makes sense that we can get it into our communities, and I think this may be one way. There's going to be others that show up, but thank you so much for joining us today on the #R6 Prepares podcast.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for this opportunity. I'll talk to you soon, Bill.
Our ask today is to help Chi move this message out and move the training closer to the folks that need it in the local areas. So if you're a state or local or tribal or community partner of ours, please push this on in as deeply into the local area as you can, and let's see if we can help these folks out. That about does it for this episode of the hashtag R6 Prepares podcast. Please give us a like on our YouTube channel and subscribe there if you will. And likewise, please follow us at hashtag R6 Prepares on Twitter. Take care of you and yours, and we'll talk to you next time.